Is that us? Brilliant. Hello. Welcome. I'm going to gently fade down the royalty-free music because Chris Shannon, our Deputy Chair Governance, would be certain that we wouldn't do anything inappropriate. And welcome you to the Lean HE AGM for 24-25. Is that right, Laura? Welcome. We're glad you're here. So we've got lots to talk about today and some exciting announcements and some things to go through. And we've got some people joining us here on screen and others who you can't see. And we're hoping the community will be able to catch up with us on YouTube and see the things that Lean HE have been up to. My name is Steve Yorkstone and I am the chair of Lean HE currently for another how many weeks? Is that? I think is it 2 weeks, John? I think that's about it. So really the thing to do is to see how much damage I can do to the reputation of not in the slightest. But it's a great pleasure to welcome everybody to the Lean HE AGM, and it has been actually one of the great pleasures of my career to be part of Lean HE and been hosting it. Hosting it. What we're going to be going through today is talking a little bit about from the continental divisions, from Europe, from Americas, and from Asia Pacific, to hear about the good things that have been going on there. And one of the things that I think is really important about Lean HE in our community is that we bring passion and purpose for the good that our universities do. And it's the people that make Lean HE. For those of you who might not know, we're entirely voluntary. We run without any budget. We are lean in nature as well as in name. And it's the energy, the positive energy of the people of the community that keep Lean HE alive. And over the past year, that's what I've really enjoyed taking part in. And I've enjoyed connecting as we can now on calls with colleagues from North America, from Europe and from Australia, collaborating on book projects, on research projects, and just sharing wisdom and stories that helps me improve my university and helps us do some really cool things. Because in a world where higher education is under pressure, we've got the opportunity to reach out, do good work, and I find the Lean HE community is an amazing source of encouragement as well as practical tips and stuff. But I could rant for ages, and I'm not going to. I'm going to pass on to the people who really do the stuff, which are the people who lead our communities around the world. So I think on my agenda, we're going to pass first to the lovely Krista. Is that fair?
Thanks, Steve. Happy to share. So let me talk a little bit about what the Americas have been doing, some of the highlights from the last year. I think we've really sort of had a reset on the steering committee, and we looked at some of the gaps and some of our goals and set forth a short-term strategy. We've been busy redefining and sort of reimagining the steering committee. And as part of that, we've been recruiting for some of the newly developed positions that we think will make a big difference in helping us reach some of our goals in the coming years. We built a 1-year strategy. We presented at the Encore event. We held our own Encore event in the Americas, I should say. And now we're focusing on selecting a host for the 2026 conference. So it's been a big learning year for us, a big growth year for us. We've been taking advantage of some of the experience of the members on the steering committee to help us navigate through this. And I feel like we're really positioned for a really promising year ahead.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your favorite thing over the past year, Krista? What's been the juiciest, best bit when you think back?
I guess one of the things that I really appreciate and value is an event that we do once a quarter called Quick Takes.
Mhm.
And it's where we have people come together and we have three presenters come together. It's only an hour. It's like almost like a mini encore. And people present for 15 minutes, and then there's a moment for questions, and then very quickly we're on to the next presenter. So it's a way to learn three quick, impactful concepts in an hour.
Mhm.
And I feel like on average, we have about 50 people show up. It's quick moving, it's intense, it's fun. You get to see people you know, people you haven't seen in a while, and you have a takeaway all compressed into this event that almost anybody can fit in their schedule.
Love
So
it.
it's like
Yeah,
small effort, big impact. I
yeah,
love it.
I love it. I love it. So cool. Thank you, Krista, and
Hmm.
thank you for doing what you do and being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Let's throw the ball from what time is it with you? Is it afternoon, Krista? About what is it?
Afternoon.
5 o'clock-ish? Is it something like that with you?
It's 4 o'clock over here.
4 o'clock on Thursday, all the way to what is it? 7 a.m. on Friday with you, Melissa. So, welcome, and welcome to people who've been just joining us as the meeting starts. Luckily, you missed my little burble at the start, but you've arrived for the important bits, hearing from Krista, Melissa, and John, the Continental Vision Chair. So, Melissa, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Um, I've had a wonderful year. I find it such a privilege to chair the Asia Pacific Network. We have had a bit of a tough year in higher education in Australia, New Zealand. So 2024 was really about going back to basics. So our steering committee in planning for our events for this year just went, what is it that's really core that keeps our community together? What's bonding us together? And from previous conversations we've had the community, we know what they really, really love is that sense of connection, that sense of learning, and that sense of sharing. So, in going back to basics, our whole program of events for last year was based on a monthly lean coffee. Lean coffees are fantastic. It's a concept that we sort of borrowed and adopted from the Americas. It's a 1 hour, once a month. We have a Miro board, a continuous Miro board. Everyone who comes in gets to vote on what they'd actually like to talk about during their 1 hour. So you can post your challenges, and then different people on the call will provide their perspectives on how they've approached those types of challenges. What's been really, really lovely is seeing not just the conversation that we have, but how that's then led to really strong individual connections outside of those events. So often we'll end a call and someone will be messaging saying, hey, I'm going to get in touch with you because I really appreciated what you said there and I'd love to understand the resources that you use. So although it's been a bit back to basics, I think it's been really important for our group to almost reform those bonds, understand where we've got our pockets of practice across the different universities, and understand how we can best work together.
Same question, Melissa. What's been your absolute juiciest favorite moment or feeling or like that thing?
Yeah, we did an event towards the end of last year, which was cut in half. Some of it was Lean HE Encore. So we had one of our Australian-based presenters who presented the previous year's conference, so University of Melbourne. That was fantastic because geographically it's difficult for us to get to places, to get to conferences. But what we also did in that session, which I really, really loved, was we had a discussion between two of our steering committee members who are both completing PhDs at the moment. So we got a real insight into research in this space as well. And it's really lovely in universities to be able to connect the practitioner with the research, with the theory, with the experience. So Chris is on the call. So it's Chris and Rizwan. was a really lovely conversation to understand what was driving their passion in their research. So that was something slightly different for us, but I thought it was a really nice extension for the group.
Thank you. I love it. And I know you referenced those tough times, and we all feel that times are tough right now. But I know there was a wise colleague, I think it was Suzanne, taught me about appreciative inquiry, and actually about how focusing on the positive is the best way to enable us to get through this, right? Because we have got some enormous strengths and amazing connections, and we can do, as Krista pointed out in her example, so much by connecting and doing things practical. So that's kind of why I really want us to focus on the positive and the connections that we have as we go through, as a way of navigating through the challenges that we see ourselves in. So John, over to you. How's things in Europe, the grand dam of Lean HE, you know, networks everywhere? How's it going?
It's been a good year to reflect on. So just a few things from me. You're right, we've got quite a number of networks across Europe. So our Irish network is very much on the rise, which is great. In November 24, over 100 colleagues from Irish universities attended an event called Stories of Continuous Improvement and Change in Higher Education. So real enthusiasm, positivity to get involved in that network, which was great to see. Our Netherlands and Belgium network, they continue to go from strength to strength. They hold regular online coffee moments where they discuss lean and CI developments in different institutions and learn from one another. So back to the sort of takeaway thing that Krista was mentioning earlier. Scottish Network continues to meet every month, share good practice on topics such as Hoshin Canry, job crafting and automation. So good stuff going on there. Our Norwegian colleagues in the Nordic countries, that network is also thriving with more universities joining the network and also the steering group. In November 24, they held an online seminar, which I love the name of, Inspirational Bonanza, Improvement Across Organisations. Great name. So with presentations from 4 different universities, 3 from Norway, 1 from Denmark, and it was attended by over 50 people from 8 different universities. So again, some really good stuff there. In Poland, again, the network is thriving, regular online seminars, and of course the annual Lean HE Poland conference, which happens in June each year, and I've already had an invitation for this June's conference to attend that. So really good stuff there. With regard to England and Wales, during the summer last year, there was 2 regional groups in England, a northern group and a southern group. So over the summer, last summer, those 2 groups merged to become a single network, which is called Lean HE England and Wales. And this network has also got 2 fairly well-established subgroups, one on change and one on digital through the lens of lean and continuous improvement. So really good stuff. And then a relative newcomer to the network in Europe is France. So we're really looking forward to supporting them over the coming year to develop the network there further. So nearly in conclusion, in Europe we held 2 Lean HE Encore events in 2024, one in February and the other in May. And the total attendees across both was in excess of 250 people. So really good attendance, and those contained presentations from the San Diego conference in 2023. All of the recordings from those events are on the Lean HE YouTube channel. And indeed our next Lean HE Encore event is taking place next week on Wednesday, 19th of March. So that's pretty much it. I'd just like to finish up by expressing my sincere thanks to all of the Lean HE Europe Network leads for all their continued hard work, dedication, and the support they give me. And we may be coming on to this, but stepping down as chair of Lean HE Europe at the end of March. So I'd like to wish Svenara, my replacement, all the best when he takes over as chair in April, and also Linda Spinks, who's taking over the role of deputy chair.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. Your juicy bit, your highlight, your personal magic moment.
I was going to be greedy or cheeky and have two, but I think for me, I think Lean HE Encore was a new thing. It was an idea that formulated over a number of months, and we thought, well, maybe we should try it. We listened to the wider network about people not being able to attend the international conference, and we needed to find a way to give people access to the same content in a way that they could come together as a community. And I think we've learned a lot from doing it last year, and we'll apply that learning into the events this year. But for me, I think it was, given the attendance and given the feedback we received afterwards, I think it has been a real success and an example of, when we work together and we come up with innovative ideas and we put them into practice and it works. So that would be my highlight.
Yeah, and I love it, and I love how the Lean HE Encore takes the qualitative nature of those Lean HE events and spreads that and lets more people take part of it and creates a record of it so that people can access the stuff through our YouTube channel going forward. I think it's really cool. Thank you, John. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Krista. You are awesome. And I'd draw everyone's attention to our annual report, which, thank you, Laura, has published on the leanhe.org, www.leanhe.org/about us. If you hit there, scroll down, you'll see our annual report, and you'll be able to go through there and read more stories about lots of institutions and see who's been contributing, because really what Lean HE does is a glorious fruit of so many people doing so much stuff all around the world. Now, do you know what my favourite best bit was? I mean, it's going to come as no surprise. Career high debating in the Cambridge Union, Linda. I mean, that's got to be the best moment of my career, is being in that room debating. And the conference as well, Linda, was absolutely stunning. I mean, there's a huge thanks from all of us to you, Linda, and the conference team for the work that you've done over the past year. Because the conference sort of, for me, it's like the fulcrum on which the Lean HE year spins. You know, it's a chance where we get together, we kind of build, we do the kind of the learning, we share best practice, you pick up those tools and techniques, but also kind of recharge your batteries, if you like. You know, check in with the energy and go kind of more enthused to go back out and help folks navigate through what they need to do right now with some of the energy that we can pull from that community. And I got that in spades in Cambridge. So thank you so much, Linda, for the stuff that you did in that conference. It was absolutely brilliant. And we will come to conferences next, I think, if that's okay, looking forward. I see Laura nodding at me. I see Melissa nodding, and I'm quite excited to find out where we're at and hear what the next step in the story is for our conference this year. So, Melissa.
Thank you. I've got some slides, if it's okay for me to share them.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure, if I can take control. I'll try. Here we go. That moment of panic when you go, am I sharing the right slides? Yes, I'm sharing the right slides. So 2025, Asia Pacific is incredibly excited to be hosting not just a conference, but a conference experience in 2025, which is going to run through the whole year. We've decided to lean into And I'm glad, John, that you used that language, inspirational bonanza, beforehand. We're leaning into a more guerrilla approach for our conference for this year. Traditionally, there's been a university who is an anchor host. This year, we're going to distribute that responsibility and that opportunity. How is this going to work? I will get to in a moment. But we've landed as a steering committee on the tagline, Mad Keen for Lean. Now, we love this, except we then had a moment where we just went, does anyone outside Australia and New Zealand have any idea what mad keen actually means as a term? Hence the explanation at the beginning. Enthusiastic, very enthusiastic or excited. And for those of you who know the members of our SteerCo, I think it's a really, really apt description of our passion for lean and also for our community's passion for lean. How is this going to work? Right. I said before that we'd gone back to basics last year, and our lean coffees were really the backbone of the work that we did throughout the year with our community. We just then started thinking, well, how do we take that concept of a lean coffee and explode it so that it becomes the backbone of a conference or a conference experience? So this is what we're proposing, and this is what we're going to play with, and this is the experiment that we're going to run in 2025. It's all about the pain points that we all have. They might be big, they might be small, but we have an amazing community of expertise, of gurus, of brains, of people who've done this sort of thing before over and over again. How can we tap into them so that we can actually start to solve problems on the broader global community? What we want to do is get everyone to focus on their pain points, their challenges, or the existential crisis that they might be having in their organisation at the moment around lean or improvement, value and opportunity. We want them to submit those. We're being very democratic in this. We've built a Padlet, and we're going to use our Padlet. We'll be launching it later today because I'm in the future. Remember, it's Friday, so I've still got time to launch things today. We'll be using our Padlet as our online discussion board to capture those challenges. We'll then be running a series of voting. So our online discussion board, if you've used Padlets before, are fantastic. You can pop comments in, you can pop questions in, but the main thing you can do in there is you can like different posts. So we're going to take a very democratic approach. Whatever problems or challenges or opportunities are the ones that score or rate or resonate most highly with our community are the ones that we're going to then take forward. This is almost a bit like Survivor, isn't it? Like you get through one round, then there's a second round, then there's a third round. What we'll then be doing is working with local hosts globally to hold events, whether they're process improvement events, whether they're improvement jams, whether they're challenge discussions, or whether they're just to get together to have a chat about how could we do some brainstorming on these things. And then what we'll do is we'll come together for an online event over those dates in October, where we'll be sharing back those learnings, sharing back whether we've actually managed to find some red thread solutions for some of these challenges. And what we'll be doing during that period is also topping and tailing it with what we keep hearing from our community is we need a toolbox. We need a toolbox of all the skills that you need to be a modern lean practitioner in higher education. So as well as our learnings, we'll be sharing those tools. We'll be selecting presenters who from lots of different places who can help us build out the toolkit. So really, really practically focused. The link for the Padlet is there. The QR code for the Padlet is there. I encourage you all, jump in, have a go. Get in there and just let it come out. Tell us what you're working on. Tell us what you've always wanted to work on but have never had the opportunity to because it's felt too small or you haven't had the resources or you've just been too busy or you've really had no clue how to tackle something. Pop it in there. Get your ideas out. Treat it like therapy if you need to. Just get it all out there and we'll see what we can do. To make this work, we need two things. We need people to share their challenges or opportunities, and we need some hosts. Okay, so I'm toying with the idea of being a host. What would that look like? Two options. You can be a host for one of these creative problem-solving events somewhere between May and July. We can be very flexible. Or you could be a local host for us for the online conference experience, which will be in October. What we'd love October to look like is lots of different local hosts around the world bringing together their communities, and we're connecting online together, which gives us that component of face-to-face that we love, but also gives us the much broader opportunity to bring more people together into the conversation. If you're interested in being a host, just drop us a line on the email listed there and we'll get back in touch. But what we'd really like to see is universities that maybe possibly aren't in opportunity to host an entire conference. This is an opportunity for you to do something at smaller scale that's probably a lot more manageable for you. And hopefully will also then bring together your improvement practice and your improvement practitioners in your own local universities. That's it. That's what we're doing.
I love it. I love it. And what I'd encourage people, if they're thinking about being a host, to think about this as an opportunity to highlight the work you're doing internally and to evidence your practice and what you're doing, right? I think in my institution, we encourage people for fellowship of the advanced HE, which demonstrates that really you understand the business of higher education. This is a great thing to get involved with to evidence your practice for what you do to support the community, and also quite fun. And I'm guessing it's basically book a room, invite people to come along, share some stories and take part and see where it goes, Melissa, yeah?
Pretty much. And then the added bonus, which I forgot to mention, is if you're a host, you have the opportunity to play back, to present during the October event. So for some of us, that's really important that we can actually demonstrate that our involvement in Lean almost leads to a thing, people like to see a thing that you've done and you say,
Yep.
well, I had the opportunity, I hosted this, we made great connections, we had a lot of fun, and then we played back what we learned. So it's a little added bonus for people.
I love it. Thank you. That's really cool.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. And I love the branding. I love the big, bold kind of font and all that kind of stuff. It feels so
gotta
cool.
go back to it. I just it's us. It's so us, Excellent.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Melissa. That's cool. Now, one of the things that we try and do here in Lean HE is to have a plan going forward. It was back, and I think I was in Bournemouth actually, Laura, and there was an event there, and one of the steering group members at the time, who was from Waterloo, she said, "Well, we're Lean. We should be good at organising. We should have some forward planning into where we're going." And I know that we've actually already started planning 2026. Are we able to say where we're going, or where's the story there? I want to get excited about coming to America in 2026. Krista, help me. Oh, I think.
That it? Muted? Better? Okay. Well, I have to say there is a lot of excitement going on. Some of it's the kind that does get your pulse going. Not all of it is positive, but it feels like we have a challenge in front of us. Both Canada and the US are experiencing different kinds of challenges right now, which makes navigating the climate interesting. In Canada, they're dealing with restrictions on the number of international students that are allowed, as many other places are dealing with it. And what's happened in that respect is that some of the continuous improvement programs have they've shrank. So some of the folks that used to be part of our Canada network have stepped away into other jobs, trying to fill other needs at the moment. And so our Canada network is struggling a little bit, not as many members as there were before. And a lot of the institutions in Canada are doing a lot of extra work. They're shorthanded right now. So it could be a challenge finding a host there. In the US, a new administration in Washington, D.C. is making many changes in the way universities operate, from challenging some of the programs to challenging some of the funding. And the changes are coming very fast right now. So a lot of the staff that might be able to participate and focus on continuous improvement and on conferences is working very hard to respond to the changes and the requests that are coming. So that said, lots of different challenges on the table. Despite that, a lot of programs are seeing this as an opportunity to address some of the issues, to keep working on things. So there's a lot of active work going on with Lean right now, but also a lot of heightened concern. So this is the climate right now that we're searching for a host. The steering committee has some ideas. We are doing a deep dive at our next meeting to talk about the various concerns we have and what the best strategy might be. We may find ourselves following the Asia Pacific region and moving into a non-traditional model for a conference. We do think it's really important to gather, but we may have to be creative in terms of taking advantage of what people are able to do right now, what they're able to focus on right now. So that's kind of where we are. I don't know if that gets you excited, Steve, but I feel like the one thing we have is we do have a can-do, let's figure this out approach to it. We recognize that despite what's going on around us, it's really important to continue this work.
Yeah, thank you. And
Mhm.
and we appreciate it's things are, there's a lot of change, and there's a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of stuff to manage. Luckily, I know some people who are quite good at navigating through change, and many of them are on this call, and for me, it's when that for me, and I don't know about you, Krista, but when Lean works right, it's with a humanistic approach. It's with the folk in mind. And I think keeping that, we will navigate through this because, in all logically possible timelines, the model of a conference is going to change. The cost of traveling environmentally is getting greater and greater, and we're more aware of the costs of that. And so we need to think about different models. And thank you for the passion and your people in the division wrestling with how to do this, because that will help us as we navigate even more change going forward. Yeah. Nice. And I know that some of my favorite bits this year have been connecting with colleagues in America online. I was thinking about, there's a couple of colleagues who I've been on calls with, collaborating with a book chapter and with a research project in the States. And the way that we can do that using technology now, it's so exciting. And it's cool. Nice. So it's a watch this space, see how it goes. And meanwhile, if the community can help, then reach out. I'm sure that there'll be lots of things to do and lots of things to learn from our colleagues who are mad keen for Lean in Asia Pacific. So thinking about going forward, then we're thinking about the broader changes and what is the future of Lean HE in this environment, in the way that the world is now, with some of the challenges that we're seeing that are facing higher education. So I'm going to throw that out to the committee members who are here and see if anyone wants to pick up on that. I mean, imagine 10 years time. So Lean HE, we've just finished 10 years. And we've grown incredibly, right? So 10 years ago, we were a bunch of practitioners gathering after a day-long meeting and just throwing some ideas around, right? Now we've got a LinkedIn group which has got over, 3,500 members, Laura? We've had a conference series that has been hosted by some of the most prestigious universities around the world, with some incredible speakers. The community has published, I've lost count of the number of books. The most recent one that many of the community members have contributed to was on service design and higher education. So imagine we keep going, okay? And in 10 years' time, what does the Lean HE community look like? Who wants to pick me up on that one?
I'll go first, Steve, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but I'll tell you why I don't know what it looks like and how we might get there. We have done quite a bit of work over the last few years on gathering thoughts from the global community on the future of Lean and how we can continue to thrive and thrive even more in the future. So I think that is the start of a co-creation of some form of strategy, which will have some ideas about where perhaps we want to get to. But at this moment in time, we've got no idea how we're going to get there. So we need to navigate that path through with lots of different actions. But the key thing for me is you talked about the importance of people, the humanistic approach. The key thing for me is we co-create it, because one thing we have got is we've got strength in numbers, yes, but we have so much talent across the Lean HE community to work with, to contribute with, to collaborate with. So that was a bit of a long-winded answer to tell you I don't know where we're going to be, but I know we're going to be in a good place because of that.
Laura?
I'm gonna jump in there then, because I completely agree with John. I think, there's so much going on. There's so many, when you read the annual report, there's so many wonderful activities that are happening throughout Lean HE. And actually, what I would really like to see over the next 10 years is us really celebrating a lot of those activities for individuals and for teams. So I'm going to sneak in a really quick mention of the Global Impact Awards that we have recently launched for Lean HE. It's on the website and we monitor it regularly for any nominations. But what I would really love to do is see people taking some time to nominate those colleagues for those activities so that we can keep spreading the word over the next few years. So, how are you committing to improving, the discipline or the institution in which you're working? How are you engaging with Lean HE? Put that contribution out there and let's spread that knowledge even further, and let's really celebrate those successes. So that's what I want to see in the next 10 years. Lots of celebrations of all the great things people do.
I love it. And I'm so glad you mentioned the Lean HE Impact Awards. So cool. When are we doing the first actual announcement of the awards? Do we have a plan, Laura?
Well, I think the plan is, because we are mad keen for the awards too, as much as we are for Asia Pacific, frankly. So I think we're going to have a little chat with Melissa, and we're going to come up with a cunning plan. Because let's wrap it all up together. I think let's look to do something probably in October, when that sort of main activities are happening. So there's plenty of time between now and then for people to start thinking about who they want to nominate.
I know how well it plays in my institution if someone wins an award externally. And actually the Lean HE Impact Awards will be peer moderated by experts in lean practice from around the world. So that genuinely we'll be able to evidence that your lean practice stands shoulder to shoulder with some of the best universities in the world, and being able to take that back to your home institution and say, hey, that thing that I did with finance or with my teacher training team or with those lab technicians, actually, that's pretty cool. For me, that's a real boost. So I really hope so. And I love this. I go back to the logo, which you can't see because my pen's in the way, up there. And it was designed a long time ago, and it will change again, I'm sure. But for me, it tells a story of people coming together, and them coming together creates something. And then those ripples go out and do more stuff, and then they come back together. So for me, it's about that community that learns and grows. And I think you're right, John. I mean, who knows what the future holds next week, never mind in 10 years' time. But I think universities are going to be an important part of the world going forward, I hope. And I think they will be all the better because of people who do stuff like we do, stuff like Lean in higher education going forward. So thank you, colleagues. So what we need to do is talk a little bit about some of the governance and structure, the business end of the AGM, if that's okay, as time is racing away. Firstly, an announcement, really, that there is a change to the chair of the Global Steering Committee. So again, I had the chance to be thanked and give my thanks at the conference in Cambridge, and it was very moving, and thank you all. But thank you again for the opportunity to get involved with Lean HE. And I would encourage everyone to just get involved with something like this, because I have learned so much in my time as chair of Lean HE. And it really has been a privilege. And it's also a privilege to pass over to John Hogg, someone who is clearly incredibly well respected globally in leading Lean in higher education, will bring a unique sense of gravitas to the role and also the ability to find a very good bar on a Friday night. But I think I'm really looking forward to seeing where John takes Lean HE from here. Because there is so much opportunity to capitalize on. And John, let's face it, he's just much more organized than I am. And that's probably what we need right now. So John, it's great to announce that you'll be taking over as chair from the start of next month, and congratulations again. Of course, this is the first AGM where we are welcoming Chris Shannon as Deputy Chair Governance. You will note from the Annual General Report an excellent level of detail covering off some of the areas that are boring but important. I shouldn't say that, Chris, should I? I shouldn't describe governance as boring from a position of chair. That's a terrible thing. But in terms of risk management and in terms of data management and all that kind of stuff, I'd encourage you to have a look at that. I need to come into that there. Is there anything that you'd like to say, Chris?
Thanks, Steve. I was just thinking Laura did the report, not me. So
really,
it is very good, but the praise doesn't go to me. And I will just say, thinking about Lean and Lean HE in the future, this is probably my HR training coming out of me. I feel like the Lean network needs to be more organized and needs to be more kind of credible as a network. And I've had lots of conversations with people about that. So I guess a mechanistic core to it, but it also needs an organic shell, because the way people find the network is they are people doing business improvement in universities looking for their tribe. And so we need both. It's a bit of org development for you there.
I tell you. And that's why we're pleased that you're here, Chris. Thank you. So we welcome Chris whilst we say farewell to Laura. We haven't publicly announced it, but we've known for a couple of weeks now that you're becoming Dr. Roper. Am I right? And as we all know, a PhD is a serious commitment that you'll be moving on to. Is that fair to say, Laura?
Yep, yeah, I'm definitely in the intense phase of the PhD now. So yeah, sadly, my career is off in this direction at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for the work that you've put in to Lean HE over the past year or so. Especially things like working so hard on the Lean HE website, getting that up to date, a couple of really great annual reports, ensuring we're hitting those on deadlines. And many people won't realize that in Lean HE, there's sort of Chris, Laura, and I, the chair and the deputy chair's communication and governance, work quite closely together. And Laura's been an absolute rock in just providing a kind of stability and ensuring that I keep everything right. Anything that goes well in Lean HE, I can absolutely accredit it to the work of other people, and very often that's been Laura over the past year. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And that would also mean that now, or probably tomorrow in this time zone, but maybe today in your time zone, Melissa, we'll also be putting up information about a call for expressions of interest in people to take on the role of Deputy Chair Communication going forward. The role description is on the Lean HE website. You can find that if you go into the page on our, I think it's About Us and Steering Group. You can find the role descriptions there anyway. The information will be on LinkedIn, so have a think and we will go through the process of appointing that over the next few weeks. And that will, I guess, fall to you to lead, John. There we are. How exciting. Thank you, link in chat for that web page there. One of the things that we say at the AGM is the time where we formally would look at any changes in terms of reference. Now, at the moment, I don't think we've had any calls for changes to the terms of reference. The main changes that have been made over the past year have been to the role descriptors of the chair, Deputy Chair Governance and Deputy Chair Communication, which have been published there on that page, the Lean HE Constitution. So I'd ask colleagues to draw their attention to that. And if they have any feedback, provide them to Chris, if that's okay, Chris. Anything else to say about terms of reference? No, Chris stays wise and quiet. But I'd remind colleagues of where we started. We're on the power of volunteers. We hold no budget. We hold no data, but we rely on the support of the institutions who we work for, and their support to enable us to do what we do. So I guess I would ask people watching this to take thanks back to their institution for the support that they give to allow them to participate in Lean HE. That is, I think, the final part of our formal agenda. But what we would like to do is open up to those who've joined us, and then we'd only have time for maybe one or two people to come off mute. I see Ray's joined us from Canada. Welcome, and tell us what's your favorite bit been. We started hearing about the favorite bits from John, Krista, and from Melissa. What's your absolute top-notch favorite bit been of Lean HE over the past year? Would someone want to come and tell us a little story? Go on, Brent.
Yeah, so for me personally, it's the kind of the different human connections and just meeting up with people face to face. So really grateful to London colleagues for arranging the conference at Cambridge this year. It was a bit of a challenge getting there with budgetary constraints, but I managed to cobble the budget together and got there. So that was a great experience, especially like Steve mentioned, the first day in the sort of debating chamber and just all that history. It was absolutely phenomenal. So thank you.
Yeah, it was really cool. Ray, lovely to know you couldn't make it to the conference, could you, Ray? So your favorite bit must be something else. How are things up in the Canadian North?
They're pretty good. Can't complain. So my favorite bit is still related to Lean. Through another association that I participate in here in Canada, called the Canadian University Council of CIOs, we hosted a continuous improvement and change management virtual conference. And that conference was very successful the first year. The second year, we were having problems attracting people. So some of the folks in this room stepped forward to lend a hand. Stephen included became our keynote speaker, and we had a number of guest speakers from other international lean practicing universities that really made the event a success. So we're continuing to plot forward. Our plans are to continue with the event this coming year as well. So I just want to echo that it is truly a global community that comes forward to help everybody else. And again, my applause to everyone in the room for helping us out.
Thank you, Ray. And it's and for me, that's part of the value is there's those connections. And I think about some of the where we talk about our values, I guess, in the in our annual report. We talk about how because we connect with people who are working in a field but maybe have a different experience, another location, a different culture, we're able to learn new things and bring those back and make improvements. And for me, the value add is the connection, it is those people. And I get so much from going and presenting at your conference, Ray, and everyone enjoys it. And for me, it seems to me we've hit that non-zero sum good vibes of lean in higher education. So thank you. That I think is time for the AGM. If anyone wants to stay on for a conversation afterwards, please do. But if that's okay with colleagues, I'll ask Chris to end the recording for now and call it a day. Is that okay? Okay, Chris. Thank you so much. And thanks for colleagues for attending today. And thank